Oh, there we are. We're live. This always trips me out because it always shows that it's live and it's like 30 seconds into it. So, yeah, we're here. It looks like it's going to be me for right now, and Mr. Wilburn's going to be coming in here in a few. So we'll go right on down, and we'll say hi to everyone. We got Mr. John Wilburn. We got the One-Eyed Cat, Mr. John Wilburn. We got Max Wedge, Dick Dastly, Buff Del Campo, Miss KG. Buff Del Campo's here, and 32 degrees. I'm thinking that they're talking about Celsius because 32 degrees means cold. So I'd have to do the conversion because who understands the metric system? Because America. Um, she's working out 142. Let's see here. Buff Del Campo says hi, and Rick Salmon. Rick, I got to tell you, as I'm going down, my brother just got his engine. He's going to have a 1904. We're going to build for him, so it's going to be a 20.5. I'm sorry, 90.5 pistons with a 74 crank, so which is going to be awesome. I'm really excited about them. Oh, wait! I think I hear a knock on the door. I think there's a knock. Who could it be?
Hello, everyone. How's it going? I fumbled the snap on your link to get in, Professor P.
It's okay, man. I was just telling Rick that my brother actually put the money down on an engine for his bug today. It's a 1904, so he's going with basically it's a 1776, so 90.5 pistons with a 74 stroke. So, and I did talk him into going with the carburetor. He's going to be going with a Holley 2-barrel style, but it's from RAD Designs. You ever heard of them?
Vaguely.
Yeah, Rodney is a friend of mine when I was he's one of those customers that became a friend. Let's put it that way. When I was at the other cam company, and I helped him do a lot of custom cams for a lot of his builds. Anyways, he came up with his own intake manifold. And so for my brother, I said, if you get a Holley, because he wants to be able to drive this thing anywhere. And I said, you have a Holley, you can pretty much go anywhere and you can get any part. But if you have a Delardo, a Weber, or anything like that, or a Pick, you're not going to find parts for those things anymore. There's not like there's little packets of empty, blister packs everywhere anymore. So
not like in the 90s.
Yeah, it's not 1990. In fact, it's funny because I said to him, I said, yeah, all we need is a 12-pack of beer, Sublime playing on the radio, the windows down, hot summer night, right. And it's 1995 all over again. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
All right. We got Mrs. KG again and Buff Del Campo. And there's Slant Daily Garage in here saying, what's up, suckers? Everybody's all just kind of greeting people. Fab Race Mod Repeat. Clayton's Toolbox got the One-Eyed Cat. Oh, Turbo Tom 416, he's in here. Awesome. NSB Customs is in
here.
Yeah. Unfinished Project. Man, we got a lot in here. Danny Boyd, we got Colleen, we got the Moha 62, Dust Devil Garage. Lat is in here. Man, we're going through, man.
Aunt D, Heaven's Mopars.
Yeah, man. Keep on rolling through, see if there's anyone that I've missed. I think we got everyone.
Hashtag that will be a car again.
Yeah. So I have an announcement, and this is a real announcement. This is a real thing. So I talked to Dallas just a few hours ago, and Mr. Dallas would like to start doing the lives again. And not just by doing the lives again on Slant Daily Garage, but doing lives on the AHRA channel again. And I think that I've held it here for long enough. I think that next week it's going to be on the AHRA channel next week. I think that's and I'll keep announcing that throughout the time. I have some stuff that I would like to do, and I'm going to start the show off with this, but it's just going to be a regular show. I'll be on this. I would like to because I have kids, so they have we have Cub Scouts, we have tutoring, and we have so much stuff during the week that it's hard to get any projects done when you only have really one day out of the week. And I love doing this, but at the same time, I would like to have a little bit more time to get some of my projects done. And people who are friends with me on Facebook have noticed that I have set up my drum set again, and I'm going to I'm trying to find happiness on this side of the Tennessee, the Mississippi River. Let's put it that way. And I like um, I've been playing now only again for 4 days. And I'm able to get through most of my set list like I used to. And it's weird to open up some of those cases because they haven't actually been open since 2009. And I think I was
Did
talking to
dust fly out?
dude, there's a few of them that are like, whoa. But here's the thing though, is that I keep a little list of the last time I was on stage, and my wife called it. She actually remembered. There used to be this thing called the Coronado Speed Festival in Coronado Island, and it's like road racing. So they would have all the old cars from like the Trans Am, cars, all of them. They would have that whole SCCA type thing, and so they would have a live stage. And so my very last concert that I ever played was at that, and I was and I don't remember what the band was that I was playing at the time, but yeah, that was a very last time. So it was weird to open up some of my old cases again and get it all set up. So it's something that I would like to do for myself again. So I'm going to dedicate a little bit of time. And I've been doing it basically an hour right after dinner. I go up there for an hour, come back down. Don't kill myself because I'm trying to get my my calluses back so I don't get blisters. But, yeah. Anyways, that's a long-winded way to say that we're going to be going. This is actually a show, so is going to be going over to the AHRA channel, and Mr. Dallas Brown is going to be back doing his thing again. So yeah, so it's going to be nice. And I wanted to say openly, John, thank you for this whole time for for filling in, and I couldn't have asked for a better host to come in. So thank you again.
Well, I thoroughly enjoy it. I love getting to hang out with you guys on Wednesdays, and it's a lot of
fun. Will there be a Slant Daily music channel? Well, here's the thing is if you ever watch any of my videos and you hear the music, that is 100% my stuff. So there happens to be a guy who lives down the street, and I'm not going to go beyond that, but there is a couple guys who come in here. I won't say his name, but he does come in here, and he did play in a band. And so we've been talking, and I have a studio, like it's set up. So we're going to start recording some music, and we might use it for some of our YouTube, and we might just open it up to the No Name National people just for whatever. You could use whatever our music. I don't care. Go have fun with it. So anyways,
you could go live and have a concert on Slant Daily Garage channel.
Right. That would be kind of cool. Yeah. So anyways, that's what we got going on right now. And yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah, Dallas is back. He's back from vacation. So, and in fact, I was just talking to him, and he's got he had a nice vacation, and hopefully things are going to be getting back to basically normal for him. So you know what's funny is 2024 actually No Name Nationals 2024.
We talked about that, Brian, and last year it didn't get enough traction. However, that said, there's a stage there, and I think it would be pretty good for the Saturday evening.
Oh yeah,
just saying.
Yeah,
we offered that last year.
Yeah, but I gotta say, the people who didn't go and watch Smokey and the Bandit over on the big screen really missed out, because that was awesome. I gotta say that was just incredible. I haven't sat down and watched that movie, without one of these things in your hand or something, just sitting down and watching the movie, and the sound was good, the screen was good. It was actually awesome. So yeah. He wants to, what, we might do a trifecta. Yeah, why not?
You never know. Have you and I and Dallas ever been together in a live before?
I don't think so.
They've had every combination of the two of us, but I don't know if they've ever had all three of us before.
Yeah, that would be like a threefer, if you know it. And
That's
you
it.
know, and if we're gonna do an Oak Island update, they still haven't found anything. They're digging into the hole, but you know what? They did have a 3-fur. I was gonna record it, but I was just like, meh, a 4-fur is about the best. If we can get a 5-fur, then I'm gonna record it and we'll post it up.
Ooh.
Oh, and one more thing. Remember last week I was talking about one of the ladies who works in quality control who was doing a thing on the tunnel ram, and I was talking about the tunnel ram mafia, and we have the cross ram cartel.
Right.
She got a 90. Oh, she told me it's either 94 or 96% on that presentation. So I was pretty happy about that. I sat down and told her, here, let's say this, do this, and I gave her all the ins and outs, and yeah, so it was really hot. You know, so if you guys were following along on that, so she got an A on that. So
I see Andy's listening while driving.
I can sound like I can play drums, but I can't really play drums. Yeah, you know what's funny is that right now, I can play my set list. That's about all I can say. I can make it through it. It doesn't flow right now. Let's put it that way.
I like that comment about the Coleman lanterns.
Yes, I do. I have sound equipment. Yes, I do. But you know what? There are things I'm missing. I can't find my PA. There's just little stuff. But yeah, I got drum mics and all that other stuff. So listening while driving, right? Usually have okay, guitar and bass. I used to be pretty okay at guitar and bass. Awesome. Well, where are you located? Where's Danny Boyd at?
He's in Ohio. He's in Cincinnati area.
You know, with Skype, we could probably Skype it, you know?
Use StreamYard.
Or StreamYard.
You know
what?
it's like Zoom. You know what? Zoom is just like an inferior version of StreamYard. I think the only reason Zoom is a thing is because it was first.
Yeah. Tall Guitar Hero. Right. Al wants to do a drum off. Okay. I'm down for that.
I just hope that Al can once again help us with our PA needs at the No Name Nationals. He was so kind as to help us out with amplified sound at Sykeston last year, and I certainly hope he can again this year. That was very much appreciated.
That's awesome. Did he do the speakers or for what?
He brought us our speakers and everything we needed for the burnout competition.
Oh,
but don't forget, we can also use those if we have bands on stage.
Yeah.
On the Saturday.
Wow. Once I started getting cars to work on, I lost interest in music. Yeah. You know, I've always just played. I played music so that way I could work on cars. That was basically where I come from. You need to make a ton of money to work on cars. So I play the guitar.
There's cheap, medium, expensive in California.
Yes. Yeah. That is true. That is true. In fact, it's funny because my truck, just having my truck registration in California pays for all my vehicles here. That's the correlation.
Wow.
Yes. Wow.
DJ Dust Devil there.
I have a soundboard. Awesome. Well, there we go. Oh, and he goes, plus being an early Gen Xer, music was going to crap as I grew up and got older. You know what? I agree with you. I think I got out at the right time. 2009 is when the music started to go to this, like, I don't know, wasn't my cup of tea anymore. But I, at least for me, because I'm kind of into the heavy rock, hard rock, punk, metal, that kind of stuff, that genre of style. I enjoy playing. Now I've done a lot of college rock too, and jazz, and a bunch of other stuff, but what I enjoyed playing. So yes, I agree. And in fact, just a few hours ago, Slayer announced that they're going to be coming back to town. So
Heavens Mopar says the only thing I can play is the radio. Can you carry a tune in a wheelbarrow?
Right. Well, you know why I play drums is because I can't. I sing like an amputee. I can't hold a note, can't carry a tune. Hey, it's true. It's just true. I just have this inner ear tone deafness. I mean, I think I'm sounding good. I'm like, yeah, no, I sound bad.
It's all relative. Somebody says, "Can you sing?" You didn't ask how good. It's
Right?
like I
Yes.
needed to weld something up for a friend of mine. I said, "Well, the good news is I welded it up. The bad news is it looks like I welded it
Hmm.
up."
That's why I always say I can bond metal. I
Yeah, it's
can bond
okay.
metal.
I
That's
can
it.
do okay. It doesn't look
Yeah.
like anything you want to fly in a plane on, but it'll do. It'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at
Um,
that.
my, my last show in 2020, Slayer. Yeah, they 2019 is when they played the very last show in San Diego. I forget the exact date. That was on their last little go around. So I was going to take my daughter, Gage. She wanted Slayer to be her first show. So oh right. I remember the Overnight Molly Crew to Pearl Jam time, right?
What do you think are the top three sidebar topics of this live? Food and music are definitely two of them.
Yes.
That these guys will just completely, you know, pull the wheel all the way.
Yeah, right. Um, yeah, no, that and I always make jokes about Oak Island, but
Right. Now, if you guys don't know what he's talking about, you're missing out because
no,
yes,
it's what 9? Is it 9 years now? 10 years?
I have no idea. Well, I first of all, as soon as they started that, I'm like, well, this isn't going to have any longevity unless they already know there's nothing to be looking for. So,
See, I didn't look into it that far. Here's me. As soon as I saw Oak Island, right, the mystery of Oak Island, I revert back to the National Geographic. Remember the little yellow National Geographics that would come out? And it had this Oak Island, the mystery of Oak Island, and they had this whole article on what's buried 200 feet below Oak Island. There's this big treasure with all these booby traps, and I was so intrigued. And then when they said they're going to have a show, I was just like, "This is the greatest show ever!" Oh man, and the only
Patrick,
reason why I've stayed vested is because I was invested back when I was a kid back in the 80s.
well, that Gold Rush show, at least they find gold.
They gotta find something, man.
But they do. They find gold. It's just they have found more and more.
Yeah,
Oak Island found mud last night. Loudon Burns says.
they
Patrick
did.
just wanted to make us hungry right at the beginning of the live by telling us that Mopar Joe got shipped a tin of Jackie's famous lemon cookies.
Dude, right? I don't know, man. You know who's gonna give someone a run for the money on cookies is my wifey. You know,
Okay.
she got a fruit, like a food processor from
Yeah.
across the way, and she's been making her own like flour, and she's been making all her own stuff. And so the cookies that she's been making are like I'm like, dude, like for real, like this is good. Like, yeah, keep those away because yeah. Ooh, when I went to school, I played metal and grunge, but the Sepultura and Slayer guys were a different crowd. Well, I was the Sepultura Slayer guy. That was me, and the punk rock guy. So yeah. Um. Oh, she got some. I got some better cookies in India a couple of weeks ago.
Twisted Mopar Garage is going to take us away from music and away from
Perfect.
cookies.
Has anyone ran the 23, 23, 24 extreme energy comp cams? Any idea on center lines? I don't know what those numbers are, so let me Google that real quick. 23-23-24 cam. Is that the number for it? Yeah, camshaft.
It's all garage rage on behalf of the machine these days.
Yeah, right. Is that a camshaft? It did. I don't know. I don't see any. No. Oh, here we
That
go.
number
Maybe.
doesn't looks bizarre to me, but
Yeah, I think there's a few numbers missing. If you put the numbers back up or tell me what it's for, I'll tell you what it is because I have a little back door to different things. So I can,
look at Scott's magnanimous offer there. I challenge her to send me a dozen cookies, and I'll be the guinea pig taste tester. Man, that's a hard job. You're really taking one for the team there, Scott.
right? You know what? We should do a live cookie test. You know, that'd be good.
I got
Yeah,
one
if
of
you
each last year. It's fantastic.
Twisted, look at those cam numbers again because I think you're missing at least a number where the second 23 is. I know that
Yeah.
for a fact.
Yeah.
Now that I'm looking at it, if you look at those numbers, I'll pull it up and we'll go from there. Oh, and right here. What is he saying right here? Oh, I have a T5 transmission in my Mustang. What does it mean when gears 1, 2, 3, and 5 are whining? 4 sound normal. What could be failing? That usually is going to be a bearing of some sort. And 4 is normal because it's direct drive.
Yeah,
1,
4
2,
isn't actually a gear per se.
yeah, it's direct. So 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be a bearing usually on the secondary shaft where because it goes in the primary shaft and your secondary shaft. And because as it goes through the gears, it comes back across where 4th is direct drive. So it's going to be a bearing. If I had to guess, now these are just guess by what 2 statements here. I'm going to say it's on the secondary shaft somewhere.
How does it sound when you're talking about when you're driving down the road, not when you're pushing the clutch in? Usually when you push the clutch in at idle, or you hear it in first gear, it'll be like an input bearing.
Yeah.
And of course you can tell that just picking it up off the floor. I actually diagnosed that one for a guy one time. He had the transmission sitting in the floor and he wanted me to come take a look at it. He wanted me to take it apart, and I picked it up and set it on the bench. And I said, well, I know what's wrong with it. He said, you haven't taken it apart. I said, I don't need to. The input bearing's trashed. I could tell that when I picked it up.
Yeah.
That's all it was. But no, it
Yeah,
sounds to me like you said, it's probably on the counter shaft, considering you have gear noise and all those gears going down the road and not direct.
And if I said counter shaft, I meant to say secondary shaft. If I said counter shaft, so it's a secondary shaft. So primary and you have a secondary. So if I said counter shaft, I'm sorry. That I was thinking other things in my mind. So I'm sorry for that. What's my favorite cookie? Molasses. Okay. Yeah, exactly. It is the yes, I messed up. Sorry. I know it's not the throwout bearing. Yeah, I'm it's definitely not your throwout bearing.
You'll hear that change when you push the clutch pedal in.
Yeah. I traded some parts for a T5 transmission just recently also. So, yeah. So I got an extra one too. So I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with it. But Shane, that 1904 of your brother's is basically a Porsche 912 configuration. Yes. Put some hogged out heads and a pair of dual 4044s and I'll scream. Mine does. Actually, Rad Performance. Is it Rad? RAD Designs. I think it's Rad Designs. Rodney. He has ported heads for it. Obviously, I did a custom cam for it, and we normally would do dual carbs, and you're right, but he wants something that he can get in and drive it anywhere he wants to go. So I'm going to be a little conservative on the camshaft, and we would like to do a single carburetor. So we're going to put a Holley on it. We're going to put a 350 Holley on it. I've seen them run before, and they run really well on a bug. It works absolutely perfect. And we're going to give it a shot. If it doesn't, then we'll do something different. But you're going to see some of the videos of that coming up of me building that thing on my channel. So yeah, he's dropping a lot of parts. He wants to do the California drop on it. So he's like, I said, we're not 16 and 20 anymore, dude. We can't cut and turn the front end to where you're just, driving around and your suspension is the seat. I said, let's get some drop spindles on it. Let's put some brakes on it. So we're not have drums on it. Let's make this thing something that we can get in and drive, and he's even putting, heater boxes on it. So that way he has a heater. And I'm like, oh yeah, you are definitely getting old.
Yeah.
I'm heavily considering 1904 for my build since I have to bore out the heads. Anyways, absolutely. It's like a perfect combination. When you go to the 92s, look, everyone's got their own opinion. To me, a 1776 has always been like the perfect street bore size, like 90.5s. You got plenty of air around them. You're not changing out the shuffle pins much into the case. I just like them, and we can run 10 millimeter studs on them. Once you get to 1835, you can still run 10 millimeter stud on that, but it's just you're starting to cut into things. That's just my favorite engine, and I personally would just like to bore that out for that extra stroke. All we're trying to get is 100 horsepower out of it on the minimum, and make it so that way he's a driver, and his transmission is going to be one of those freeway flyers. So it's going to have I think it's going to have a straight up 1-to-1 fourth gear instead of overdriven. So
I like Cabello's question there. That will be a good one to get Dallas on a tangent of. Do you believe Bill Grumpy Jenkins changed the way people see small block engines? Yes, I do. I'm a fan of the Grump.
Yes, right here. Yes,
Indeed.
100%. Yes. I can only give so much information on this. All I can tell you is that they will be here this year, but that doesn't mean month 12, doesn't mean month 10. I can just tell you that I can't discuss more than that. All I can tell you is that they're going to be here, and I'm definitely going to have some, and I'm definitely going to put them in a slant six because I've got a hydraulic head style, and I'm going to make a hydraulic head DLC lifter slant six, and because it's perfect for that, because slant six has got a crappy oiling system for hydraulic lifters, and if it survives in that, it will survive in yours 100%. The first world DLC lifters, we don't talk about
Yeah.
DLC lifters. No, actually, I'm glad. It just keeps it relevant, so that way sometimes I'll slip and I'll tell you a little bit extra, which I don't care, whatever. So
you talk about cam break in and so forth, and a lot of these guys, the DLC thing is a lot of people are scared of breaking in their cams. Just Mopar Joe and Big Mike's Hoopty Barn, they just broke a cam in his 440 this past week.
Yeah, and
no
everything
problem.
good.
They timed it well. They lubed it well. Did all the checklist things, and it broke in just fine.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's the continuous cranking. Usually, it's the continuous cranking, not starting right away. The spring pressures, the oil. It's just a lot of little things, but the DLC really is the game changer on it. It has nothing to do with anything more than that you don't have to run a cast iron cam. You can really run a billet cam. So you can run a core that was designed for a solid roller, and you can run a DLC lifter on it. Now, obviously, the profile has to be for a lifter, a flat tappet, but the beauty of that is that you don't have to have whatever's in stock as far as a core. You can take an LS firing order or Windsor firing order, put it in your Mopar or your Buick, where you have to have the gear on the front. You can make a custom cam. Your slant six, you can make a custom cam slant six for a DLC. So you can change whatever firing order you want on that. And you can do whatever you want with it. So that's the beauty of it. It's the freedom that it gives, not just that it survives. So that's yeah. Why is there so much performance mods info on Hollies versus Edelbrocks? Well, here's the thing: is that I like Edelbrocks. Now we're talking about the non-VRS. The VRS carburetor is an amazing carburetor, which is definitely not a Holley. It looks like one, but it's definitely not. But back in the day, Carter's were your basic, carburetor, and then it was bought out by Edelbrock, and that was your basic carburetor, and then you had the Hollies. Now, the Edelbrock was a good pull out of the box, put it on your car. It's going to run, and it's pretty damn close, and there's no fuel below a gasket line, so that way they're not going to have leaks. And it was a very simple carburetor, and it works beautiful. In fact, I have an Edelbrock old style. What do they call them? It's an AVS. It's an AVS style carburetor on my car, on my Slant 6, and it runs beautiful. And I do that on purpose because it doesn't boil the fuel very often, and so on and so forth. But a Holley, the difference is that the old style Holleys, you can change the jets real easily, and it's a simple carburetor. It's jets, power valve, and on the metering block, there's a few jets here and there for like air bleeds, but they're infinitely tunable. Let's just put it that way. But with the VRS takes a Holley, and then all the problems that you had with a Holley, like not being able to do this, not being able to do that, splitting the intermediate circuit, it now has that. Also, too, some of the biggest things is when you have a big camshaft, you would have to drill the butterflies so that way you get a little extra air, or so that way you're not opening up the transfer slot. Well, you don't have to do that with this. It's got a port just for that, so you can adjust it and then allow it to bleed. So if you got a massive camshaft, or you put a 950 on, say, a pretty small engine, but you're going to zing it to the moon, but on idle, it just is not really running all that well. Well, you can give it that little extra bleed. So that's the reason why. And a lot of people are scared of Edelbrocks because they have a metering rod with a spring. So the first thing they think of is a rock chucker, a quadrajet, or Rochester, or however you want to call them. I know that Dallas loves them. I've never had ever any good luck with them personally. So
Dallas is Captain Quadrajet.
Yes, he is Captain Quadrajet. I mean, he flies that flag. He's got a big, Q right there on his chest. Just, rah.
He's good at them, though.
He's good at them.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So it's just that I never understood him, and I didn't have. It's not that I didn't understand him. I never had enough parts and enough people to run them to get a stockpile of stuff. Or like an Edelbrock or Holley, I could go down to any Kragen and get parts for it. So that's the difference.
Holley too, I think, because of it's a modular type of design.
Yep.
I think that it lends itself to people getting at least a good overview of it, because they can see the fuel bowl, they can see the metering block, they can see the main body, and it's kind of like Legos. I mean, it's so modular and interchangeable, and I think that's part of the appeal of the Holley.
Yeah. I'm blasting my Weber 44s right now. They would breathe well with the 1904. Yeah, I had 40s, and then I went to 44s, and then I went to those were all IDFs, and then I had 48 IDAs. Now the IDAs were literally idle or wide open. That's it. There's no intermediate on those.
I really am digging Rick Salmon's question there, and so proud that Gene Berg came up on one of our lives.
Oh, right here.
That? Yes.
At one time, Gene Berg had a setup to break in the cams he sold. Why can't we get some of the suppliers offer that service? Dude, you know what? That would be awesome. In fact, I grew up in obviously Southern California, and Potter Machine was down there. And I used to have a lot of Bernie Berg crankshafts. In fact, I never used it. I ended up just giving it away. But Gene Berg used to sell these fully rollerized cranks. Remember those? John, do you ever remember those? They were fully rolled. I mean, it was a roller bearing crankshaft instead of like
yes.
So, and it was a full circle crank. And man, those things would spin. They were like from the early 70s, and I had one. And it was a 69 millimeter crank, and it was actually made for like some road racing event where they used to have those like Formula One car type things. Never got to use it, but I did have the case for it and all that stuff. But yeah, Gene Berg, man, you're right. I would have to say,
line bore the case and fit those bearings and everything. And
yeah, and then you had to put restrictors in it too, because remember it's a needle bearing,
right?
So you didn't need nearly as much oil. The biggest thing for them though was the rod bearings, because you had to put needle bearings on the rod bearings too. So yeah, there was a lot of little things that you had to do to it. And
there are people who might get scared about those needle bearings. Just don't forget the cam turns at half the speed of the crank.
Yeah,
that's an important part of that.
Yeah. I'm waiting on those Mopar DLC. I got the baby Hemi. I sent Shane the camshaft the other day. Yeah. He said when I get it, we're gonna take a look at it and see what we can do with it, and and go from there. But yeah, we're gonna make it just for that thing. So that will be a whole setup thing too. So yeah. Dakota, did you get registered? Oh, do we have anyone close to
Uh,
the 500 number? Is that
So Absurd Ty Higgins has about 450 subs. He's going to be close. I'm going to have him on a live stream here. I've already talked with him about it here pretty soon. Get
okay?
over 500. We've got 6 other channels registered in the No Name 500 so far. And 2 of them are coming back from last year to avenge their No Name 500 this year.
Nice.
It's early. It's early. We'll see what all shakes out.
Right.
We had one that would have been, but he registered at $4.99, and I was his 500th sub. So that was kind of a wash. Nomadic Van Addict.
I'm going to offer. This is the new one on me. Shane, have you ever heard of a fish carburetor? Have you ever heard of a fish carburetor?
No, but it reminds me of something I saw a half an hour ago on New Guy's Garage. He is recontouring the main body of a carburetor with JB Weld, working on getting all the CFM he can get out of it. It's an interesting experiment. So whenever I hear something like that, it makes me think of that. But no, I've not heard of a fish carburetor.
I just Googled it, and it says a Reese fish carburetor. It's like a side draft. Well, it's more of like a 45 degree carburetor. That's weird. Thank you. I'm going to take a look at that thing.
I really want Professor P's opinion on that, by the way.
Sure.
Before I forget, is the New Guy's carburetor. Yes, tell us about the fish carburetors. I've never seen it.
Yeah. So I just Googled it, and it looks like it's a 45 degree angle cam carburetor, and it almost looks like looking at it. Now, once again, I'm looking at it's only one little tiny picture, but let's see if I can get a better image.
The Reese fish carburetor.
Yes. Oh, it's a marine carburetor, and it looks like an Offenhauser. A Stromberg. Looks like a Stromberg.
Yeah. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah. Fish carburetor breakdown. Oh, it's an SU carb too. Oh, it looks like the fish carb is like it could be a lot of different things.
Well, here it is by Reese.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the 45 degree angle one. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Hey guys. Hey Shane, will there ever be a DLC Coda lifter, solid lifter available? Yes. Yes, there will be. We're working on it. There's just things just take time right now. It has nothing to do with us per se. It's just there's a lot of things you have to wait for everyone else. It seems like nowadays.
Evans Mopar is asking an excellent question there.
Sure, go for it. What do you got?
Well, he says, how do you know how many CFMs you need for your application, or just feed it till it can't drink it?
There are formulas for this, but usually it really comes down to, okay, let's take my engine that I have, the recipe for. It's a 360 carburetor, 360 engine, 360 cubic inches. Now, typically a 750 would probably work the best for the top end. On my recipes, I'm always running a 650 because it's for the street. It's all about what kind of signal you want. Once again, here's the thing about the carburetors is that a lot of people are like, oh, run the biggest carb that you can and whatnot. I'm all about the velocity. If you can keep that velocity up, you're going to have a lot less tuning issues. You're going to have a higher signal through the booster. It's going to be easier to tune. When you slow down the signal to the carburetor, you're going to have to go way up on jetting because you're going to have less signal. So I always tend to run the smaller carburetor, and I always tend to run the smaller camshaft. Excuse me, just for that reason. So that way it's more drivable. I like the drivability, and you're driving it. I deal with street cars a lot, so you're driving them more than you're racing them. So that's the reason why I do that.
This, by the way, is our friend Dan over at New Guy's Garage. He's got a prototype of something he's making. I don't know if you can see that, but he is recontouring the entire main body with JB Weld.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's channeling his inner 220, and he's recontouring the whole main body with JB Weld, and he wants to put it on a flow bench and see what he can do.
Yeah. Well, it'll do
It's
nothing but
interesting.
awesome. It's going to do. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. It's going to do nothing more than just make it better, because anytime you add a velocity stack or anything, it's just going to create. Once you channel that air down in there, it works so much better. So I'm going to say it's going to work better.
I'm curious what he's going to get, because in addition to that, in addition to making like a velocity stack that way, he wants to go in and do some work on the inside of the boosters. I'm curious what kind of signal it's going to get.
Yeah,
That
on
would
the
be interesting.
booster, is he going to undercut it on the backside underneath it?
Well, from what I heard in the premiere he just did, he's going to actually knife edge it on the top and maybe work on the inside a little bit. So I don't know. I'm curious.
Yeah,
see what it does.
I've done a lot of this already. Knife edging it, when the air comes in is good. You're splitting the air, but it's all about the turbulence. So underneath the booster, so you're going to want something to mix it. So usually, that's the reason why they, like when they have annular boosters where they have a big hole, they're going to have some sort of square edge there, so the air is like a little negative area, so the fuel can fill up, and then when the air hits it, it basically explodes. So you don't want it too smooth. Just know that too smooth is not always the best. Jackson Live. Okay, did I miss something? H-beam rods for mine. Okay, sorry, I thought that was a question. Oh, did you see that? I was Tall Garage has got his. I saw him had his engine flipped over, so it's getting closer, man. It's getting closer. I'm liking that. I want to see that thing go. He hasn't been promoting the channel, but it's coming. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Did I have my thing's really updating slower? Yes, I found that you can run a 400 Chrysler Tunnel Ram on a big block, moped with a spacer kit. Yes, absolutely. Or if you want to, get the 400 and then get the Max Wedge heads, and then you can just run it straight straight on there, because it moves into a different area, so then no spacer needed. So yeah, do that.
That's probably the best of both worlds anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way you should have made it to start with.
Yeah, right. It's exactly right. Here, it's like, wow, you should have done this to begin with.
Yeah.
Anything going on in your world, John?
I came in out of the garage and welding up a. Let me stick a picture over my community tab. I don't know. I welded up a frame, a sign frame for a friend of mine. He wanted to hang out at the end of his property. And I told him, I said, well, just remember the old saying that a grinder and paint makes me the welder I ain't, right? Right. It will be fine for what he's doing, though. So I came in from that and got on the phone and then jumped straight in here. And then I fumbled the link, so it took me a minute. I still got in right at 8, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, always got some fun things. This year's going to be a little different. I still got a lot of real estate projects that are taken away from my ability to, in budget and time and everything, to work on my cars. But that said, I do have some fun stuff in the pipe this year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Tom Brown's got a really good question here. Shane, can you cut a flat tappet cam from a roller cam core? Yes, but here's the thing. There's actually... it has to be a copper core, which a lot of people call a yellow core, and I'll tell you why. It's because it's going to have to be reheat treated, because the heat treating on, like, say, one of those is not going to be deep enough, because on a roller you're going to have the lobes are going to look like this, or on a flat tappet they're going to be more like this, so you're going to cut through the hardness on them. So it's going to have to get reheat treated. Now, an induction hardened cam, you can re-induction harden them, but it's very expensive because they have to literally go one by one by one by one. But on a copper core, because it's copper coated there, you're only going to heat treat the areas that need it. So yes, you can, and that would be probably the way I would go personally if I was going to go to a DLC and racing. And I would just get rid of the solid rollers. And in fact, I'm probably going to build a 318 engine that's going to be just all the RPM and flat tap it with basically what you're talking about right here, a billet core, and just to see if it'll survive and how long it'll survive, and just beat the piss and tar out of it and let her eat, and see how long it lasts. So, yeah, couldn't you just DLC? Yes, but the problem is that how hard that is to put on. It's a process. It's not just like you're painting it on.
It's not like powder coat.
No, it's not. Diamond light coating, you should really go and Google it and see the process on it, because it's quite lengthy. So, and it's on the nano level. I mean, it's like in the molecules. So it's not like you're going to add, thickness to it. It's so minuscule, but it's a process in the setup. So it would be a camshaft that would be ridiculously expensive, where you could just get any camshaft then and just have forever lifters. So that would be the difference. Or if you get like a billet core, like we were just talking about before, and you have a problem, then you could just fix that camshaft. Since it's a steel core, you can weld on it, grind it, reheat treat it, and then you have a camshaft for a couple $100 then at that point. So it's definitely worth it.
Say hi to Busy Izzy. He was in here earlier, and then Indirect Connection Jason and Lars. Greet them. But Dakota's got an interesting question here about regrinding cams, and that's how much can you change the LSA when you regrind a cam?
The camshaft tells you that. In fact, I've got a few of our friends here, cams coming in. Really, you have to profile it, and you have to see what kind of ramp rates are on it. But on an average, now this is just the average. I'm just taking the middle of the barrel curve. You can usually change it by 2 degrees, usually. But there's 3 things you can change on a camshaft. You can change lift, you can change duration at 50, and you can change LSA. Which 2 of those do you want to do? That's really what it comes down to. And the reason why I say that is because you change the lift. Now you could do all 3 of them, but you're not going to gain a lot at that point. If you change duration at 50, usually safely you can get 10 degrees on it, or that's an easy number. I've seen as much as 20. And I've seen more than that, but these are just averages. That's a big change. At 10 degrees is literally like 2 steps bigger camshaft. Lobe separation angle, you can usually tighten it up by 2 degrees, but once you start tightening up lobe separation angles, that exhaust start having issues on the backside there. And then lift, whatever you change, you're taken from the base circle. So usually that tells you what you can do. And lift, you don't really gain as much from lift as you would at duration of 50, because it happens twice, open and close. So you gain a lot more air into the curve. Patrick,
if anybody
absolutely.
100%. Dakota's asking if anybody regrinds used lifters, and I won't even get into why, but I do know that someone Ed's machine, a friend of his, does them.
Yeah, there was a few people that did these. Now, when I was at another cam company, we used to have these super high polished cams, these super lightweight billet lifters that were very expensive. They're like $1,000, flat tappet lifters. These are people who do circle track racing. Those people will regrind lifters, but and put the correct amount of crown in them. But it's just not worth it, because the whole idea of running a flat top is the cost effectiveness at that point, Have you ever heard of a lifter bleed down tool?
I have not.
I have not, but I if you want to bleed it down, just put it in the engine and roll it over.
Yeah, it's called a valve spring.
Yeah, a valve spring. and a rocker arm will definitely do that. A lot of people, that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people do, a lot of. But once again, I set up my valve train differently. The people will soak their lifters, and then they'll pump the lifters up, right? And then they'll put them in the engine, then they'll adjust their valves. I do it with nothing in the lifter on purpose, because I want to be able to feel that plunger go all the way to the bottom and then come up 20 thousandths.
Yeah, you set them off the bottom.
I set them off the bottom, so
Yeah,
I
of
want
course.
it to plunge, and I want little oil in there. I want everything as easy as possible.
The only downside to that is push rod length.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
got you
Yeah.
got to measure your push rod and get your geometry back right.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll tell you, for those who, since we're talking about geometry of push rods and rocker arms and such, it's worth your while to look at the videos that Just Mopar Joe is doing with our friend Big Hoopty Mike, because they had some rocker arms that were completely, and this was an inherited situation. Okay, they didn't order this or anything, but this was an inherited situation. Some rocker arms that were completely incompatible with the heads, and the roller would literally roll off the back of the valve, the tip of the valve.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
all of this stuff is worth measuring. I mean, you can't ever count on anybody to do it. So that's just when I'm talking about measuring push rods, I remembered that.
yeah,
It's worthwhile to all of our folks here building stuff.
yeah. That plays, especially on a Mopar where it's a shaft mount rocker and it's a pretty set up deal. So usually, if that's the case, the valve is too tall, too short, too short. Sorry, too short. So it's been cut too much. Because it's coming down and coming off the back. Is that what was happening on it?
Yeah, it was yeah, exactly. It was rolling
Yeah.
off the back. Yeah.
Hmm.
Dakota, who apparently lives on Gilligan's Island, is wanting to do a poor man's lathe with a drill and sandpaper. And I'm like, why would you spend that much on the rest of your engine and risk it to doing something like that?
Right.
Because you've got to go 16 for 16 on that working and
Yeah.
breaking in
Uh-huh.
and not going through the heat treatment and getting the crown right and making sure you remember you're interfacing with a 1 to 1.5 degree angle on each lobe, and you want to chance that? I wouldn't. But if you
Yeah.
want to do it, film it and let us know how it comes out.
Yeah. See, drill press. Okay, smart. There's a hydraulic lifter, add and subtract. Okay. Does adjusting hydraulic lifters add or subtract any duration or lift? No, doesn't do anything. All the hydraulic does is it allows it to give it a little bit of give, so that way the adjustment will always be correct. And it's a hydraulic lock, essentially, is all you're doing. Is the oil fills up the plunger and a hydraulic lock, so that way as it goes over the nose, it's got a little check on the bottom with a little wafer, so that way it holds the fluid in there in the low pressure chamber as it goes up and over the nose. And then when it's relaxed, the high pressure then flows back in through the check valve and fills it back up. So that's all it is. So it doesn't add or subtract anything. The only time it does is at high RPM when it collapses. That's why I run them 20 thousandths off the bottom.
But I think he's asking about, if you put more clearance in there, and if you take that out to its craziest, most illogical extreme,
Oh yeah,
if you were to run your adjuster out like 3 threads, of course you're not going to get your full lift because it's not even making contact. But at that point, it would want to self-destruct anyway. I mean,
yeah. And obviously there is a point where if your rocker arm is not kind of going through the motion where it's at the, let's just say 35 degrees 0 and then 35, so you're high, mid, say you're at like 55 and then you're only coming down to say like 15. Yeah, you're not going to gain all of the lift because you're losing some of it in movement of force at different areas. But it's so minuscule because here's the thing is that you're going to lose at any given time 20 thousandths of lift at running just from deflection.
to deflection, yeah.
Yeah, just in deflection. And duration at 50, you can lose up to 15 degrees at any given time at any given RPM from deflection also. So things just happen. So this is, it's not like, oh, I'm running at 250 degrees at 50 right now. No, it could be anywhere at any given time.
In general, what you're always better off giving these little fringe spikes of potential power to get things to run smoother and better and cleaner. You're almost always better off making that trade.
Yeah.
So if you run an improper lash trying to get more out of your cam, that would be what I would call a really bad trade.
Yeah, absolutely.
I go the other way. I would rather give up a little bit to have something that works more reliably and smoothly.
Exactly. That's why I've always stepped down one cam size,
right,
and gone one size smaller on the carburetor for that very reason. Danny Boyd is saying that I measure nothing when I install my valve springs. Well,
Most people don't.
yeah, it really doesn't. Yeah. Um, I had an issue one time, and now I just measure everything. Just little. It sucks when you lose a race because of your own stupidity, and that race that you just lost now has a $500 bill attached to it. So yeah, that sucks. And that's
There's a
happened.
lot of things that work most of the time, and you just got to decide if that not most of the time is acceptable to you.
Yeah. All the math going on inside engines, I'm an artistic side of my brain gets overwhelmed to me. We haven't even started talking about the physics. We're just talking about the math of measuring,
Right.
but the physics and the constant physics are going on is just, you know, I remember when I was in high school, someone said that you will never use, what am I going to use this trigonometry for? What am I going to ever care about this? I can tell you right now, I sine and cosine, uh, you know, angles daily on a daily basis. Obviously, I'm in a field, but even if I wasn't in that field, I was just in my garage because I have a Mopar and it has 11-degree lifter angle off center. I'm doing basically whatever the lift is, I'm doing the cosine of 11 degrees to find out what the actual lift is because I'm losing it, at an angle. So, yeah, and then the vectoring, you can basically just take the magnitude and you start doing vectoring of forces. So yeah, I'm doing it all the time, especially in a Mopar when you start offset rocker. So you have a compound angle here. You have a 800 thousandths offset rocker, an 11-degree offset lifter. So if you slice that correctly, it's only then at one angle, but at the same time, that is only one angle. But then the forces now are going in three different angles because it's the right hand rule. Wow. Yeah, so
When I was at Virginia Tech, you had your regular like EF 1015, 1016,
mm-hmm.
and then you had your basic calculus and stuff like that. And then the next level up was vector geometry. And then that was the one that you had the big ride was differential equations. That's the one where you'd rather be flogged with a whip daily.
I used to teach differential equations.
And then
man.
once you got past that one, it's like,
yeah.
you know.
I used to teach in the differential equations and linear algebra in the tutoring center. So I love those are some of my favorites. Differential equations I love because it's testing. So it's a puzzle, and who
Yeah.
doesn't love puzzles?
Oh yeah.
So if you're familiar, so I'm not making this up.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
yeah, so you get it, and then you basically you integrate in respect to x, you integrate in respect to y. Do you get the same answer? Yes. Okay, so we use this one. Do I run a test on this one? If I get this answer and this one it doesn't equal that one, well then it goes to this. I use this one to solve it and this one to solve it. And there's really no starting point and there's no ending point. Really, it's just a problem that has a path, a three-dimensional path in respect to x and y. But then you have to set it to psi, right? Because you don't know where it goes. It's not, it's fun.
I would bet now they're not still using green lined paper and a TI-82 and a number 2 pencil, but I don't know. I can't say I miss it.
Yeah, we had to do it hand. Our teacher made us do it by hand. We couldn't use the TI-89 at the time, the titanium Texas Instrument one. We couldn't use that.
Right.
We had to use, now when I was in physics, yes, he allowed us because we had already done all the prereqs then for the math, but differential equations and both in linear algebra, he made us do it all by hand. So when you're solving like in linear algebra, when you have a matrix,
like linear algebra and moments, I think those were my two favorites.
Yeah, linear algebra is fun because it's just fun. It's a puzzle,
All I'm using it for today is figuring out, how many hours and minutes and days.
Yeah, right.
But I did figure out a really good hack. And since we're past the statute of limitations, so to speak, and all my teachers are either retired or died. So you know how we could use a programmable calculator, right? We use programs we wrote ourselves in engineering. And now, again, you guys are all racing the rule book, right? Well, I was doing it then in this class. You could set your like all of your exponents could be letters of your choosing, right?
Yep.
So I wrote formulas that made entire sentences of how to get unstuck from places. There's nothing that said I couldn't do it. Didn't say your formulas had to work and your programs had to work. You'd have anyone you wrote. So I would write them with words, basically, if you were to take.
Yeah, your f of
They
x.
never caught on to that, but it wasn't illegal because the whole point of the class was if they didn't say you couldn't do it, you could.
Yeah, it's funny because that was a thing too. Is that if you're TI 84, right? So your graphing
TI 82
calculator
is what was my jam.
was that?
I used the TI 82.
Okay, so 84 was
one.
just the next one up, but so you
Yeah.
could put in 10 functions into that, right? So you could literally put 10 different programs into there of what you wanted. Yeah. So,
and I would have one this long with ways to get unstuck from the middle of the problem if I forgot a step.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We had to do one where we had to figure out how many basketballs would fit in a room one time, and they gave us 5 minutes to measure the room in a 6-inch ruler, and we worked in teams of 2. And I'm like, this will never work. They were trying to get our estimating skills, right?
Yeah.
So what I did is I watched all of them do it, then went over to the library and got a blueprint of the room. Again, it's all thinking, right? And what does the rule book not, what is not written in the rule book, right? It applies to this day.
Yeah. So he's saying he's looking
slide rule.
I think we finally got here. Twisted Mopar is saying that I've never found that much info on the ComCams 23. Okay, so that's the one. Is that if that's the cam you're looking for? He's saying no.
Text you that number right now so you can look it up tomorrow.
Well, lobe separation on. I have a backdoor. It is a 110 center line, and it's cut on a 4-degree. And so you're going to install a 106 ICL. So that's the camshaft. So give me a second here. I'll pull it back up. Duration of 50 is 244, 254. It's on a 110 LSA. Where's my lobe lifts? Does it have lobe lifts? It actually has, with factory rocker arm ratios, it shows 520 and on the intake and 540 on the exhaust. Advertised is 282, 290. Looks like it's a decent camshaft for, looks like this is a big block Mopar. So I'm going to say 25 to 6,500. It's a pretty healthy camshaft. Yeah. Nowadays, let me soon to be nice to know in advance of build. That's a pretty hot street cam. If I could think of a cam, I would think it's like a little above the 509 cam if I had to guess. And it's on a 110 LSA, so that thing's really going to talk to you. If that's what you're looking for, that's the cam for it. I personally would run a dual plane on it, get as much torque out of it as you can, because it's not going to RPM beyond that. I wouldn't run a single plane. A lot of people would put a single plane on that. I'd run a dual plane because it's not going to RPM much past 6,500. I'd run an air gap too, personally.
A Cove said that so they caught on to what people like me would do, and they had them pull the batteries. Yeah. So he wrote with a 0.5 millimeter pencil between the keys. Right on, man.
Yeah, exactly. I knew what I was doing, and then I was but then I realized that as I was writing those programs, I learned what I was actually putting in there. So then when I was working in the tutoring center, I used to have them pull the batteries out also. And then there was also too, I can't remember there was actually a function too, because on the 89s would actually store. So you would have to pull the batteries out, put them back in, and there was a sequence of buttons that you would have to hit, and it would clear everything.
So Dakota, you said, how do you know when there's tables and chairs? Because the room was shaped different, but it used exactly the same chairs and desks and TVs and wall mounts and platform for the teachers every other room. The room was shaped differently. So then I could see they locked the room as soon as they measured this. That's how we had 5 minutes. They locked the room all weekend. But if I had the blueprint to the room, I could go get those other dimensions off of any of the other classrooms.
Oh, what was this for? This is
we had to estimate how many basketballs would fit in Randolph 331 at Virginia Tech.
Oh, yes. I remember you telling me that.
And the other thing that they didn't say you couldn't do, and there was a couple teams figured it out. They didn't say how much air had to be in them. So basically, we didn't have to try to figure all of those weird voids around the spheres. We allowed them to deflate and deform.
Yeah.
So there wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily one right answer to this. They were just testing us to see how much we could think. They didn't like the way I did stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
'Cause you're
was
thinking-
being you smoky eunuch all over the place in that class. They weren't crazy about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so he says, okay, thanks. I couldn't find centerline information. None of the cam cards just list didn't give me any duration. So yeah, it is, I'll say it one more time, 244, 252, 110 lobe separation angle, 520 and 540, and that's with a 1:5 rocker arm ratio. Install that thing on a, I even got the lash here. Lash is 16 on the intake and 18 on the exhaust. So, yep, there you go.
Say hi to Just Mopar Joe, who slid in here. And there's a question here that needs, I guess, a follow-up.
Sure.
What's this one about a 318 versus a Magnum?
Where was that at? Did I miss it?
Had it geared for torque. I found a 318 with a 2-barrel with no other information while looking for a 94-ish Magnum. My question is, should I settle or keep looking for the Magnum? What are you building?
Yeah, what are you trying to build? What's your
Yeah,
what are you trying to go for? I'm personally, pound for pound, if you can, if all parts being equal, I would get the Magnum over the LA. My personal opinion. Hydraulic roller, it comes factory in it. I've proven that you can make a lot of power with a Magnum because they have they're just good blocks. They're just good engines.
So my question is, what year 318?
Yes,
that's important.
And Magnum heads flow really good for what they are.
Because all 318s are not created equal. Specifically, 85 and up 318 or 84 and down. And what did it come out of? Because like 85, 67 trucks, a lot of them were a flat tappet lifter and a roller block.
Yeah, so they're drilled. You can go either direction with the block. We know they're fishing.
Early 318 have a forged crank. If that's a question, A-Cove, some did.
Yes. What was it? 73 was the last year, wasn't it? 73, 74?
I don't remember exactly what year it was, come to think of it.
You could just look at the crank. If it's thin, it's forged. If it's fat, it's cast. You could just really look at the harmonic bouncer right there on the crank. It'll be counterweighted on the outside. But I believe the hot ticket for a while is that when I would find these 340s, I would just find an early 318 and I would just take the crank out of that because it's identical crank, everything. So I'd put it right back in that 340 and make it an unturned 340 crank.
Check it out. I have 3 340 blocks, and both of them came from the factory with forged cranks, and all 3 of these had cast cranks with them where the forged had gone away in the past and they'd substituted it. So
yep, that's exactly what I would find on these guys is that they would, later on down the road they'd blow it out and then they would have to a cast crank put into it. So they wanted a forged crank. I just go and get a 318, early 318 out of a truck, and they had forged crank. I want to say now, I know I'm wrong. There's probably going to be some person who's going to correct me. I'm going to say 73, 74 was the number for the forging. For some reason,
close to that.
Yeah, it sticks in my head.
Just Mopar Joe is joining in a question with Dakota here on does Comp regrind their roller cams?
Yes, we do. Well, and now it depends on how much you want to change it, obviously. But yeah, you can regrind them. Absolutely. Usually on a solid roller cam, induction hardened, and even a copper core, I believe you can get up to 2 regrinds on one of those. If you're staying with the same numbers, you can get up to 3, I believe, as far as the hardness. If it's the exact same camshaft, if you're changing numbers, you usually just get 1 regrind.
Dizzy is putting out a PSA here saying he's getting unsubbed to some of us because it's YouTube. I noticed Dizzy resubbed to me a day or 2 ago, and he's now saying that it's YouTube getting him.
Really? That's weird. How's that happening?
I don't know. Tall Garage has a question here. He's got an engine that's LS head, 300 Ford bottom end,
Hmm.
So at the head gasket, everything above is Chevrolet, everything below is Ford. So does he go 4L80 for the transmission or Casper-Matic? And Cope wakes up as soon as that question gets asked and says Casper-Matic.
Right, right. Oh, Mr. Cope, how you doing, bud? It's good to see you.
So you have, let's see, you have Cope customer, mostly old parts and Russ Slant Daily Garage and me, and One-Eyed Cat. All of us have Cope stuff in our transmissions, and you're asking for recommendations here. I can just tell you mine. And Andy, we're going to get to see the hardest test for the Casper-Matic to date. We saw a test of it in the plow truck. We saw a test of it in a 12-second race truck, and we're soon going to see it in the Casper Unity Motorsports Garage.
Ooh, is he going to the track soon?
The transmission just got painted. So
Oh, I saw that. It got painted white. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that. That looked good. It was a really good paint job, whoever did it.
Well, I'm sure it was Lucas. I told Lucas he missed a spot.
It's not in that crack right there.
He told me the same one, and he was right. I completely missed the bell housing area.
Oh man. He said he got unsubscribed a few times from the same channel.
It happens.
Yeah,
there is a strange thing with YouTube, and I have absolutely no idea why it is. It's something to do with the way he set up his channel way back when. But Two Hacks Jeff looks like he did something in the settings that he cannot undo. I cannot turn on notifications for his channel. And there's a few channels like that. It refuses to let me turn on notifications. I even sent him a video where I would click on the bell, and just for a split second, the bell would go black, meaning all notifications, and then immediately go back to gray with a slash for no notifications.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's something to do with the way he originally set up his channel. And I cannot turn on notifications.
And did you notice the heart's gone on mine? So I don't have the heart
I'm on
playing right now.
StreamYard, but yes, people hate that heart.
Yeah, and what's funny is I did it last week, and the heart was there, because it's been my thing now. It's like, oh, that thing sucks, because I go on other people's and I can't read half the comment, because it's like it's there, and you're like, but this sucks,
And Dakota, it might be when you originally subscribed or something. I was his very first subscriber, but regardless, it will not let me do it. It lets other people, but not him.
Can you unsubscribe and do it again?
I guess I could. I maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it would change anything or not.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be number one then, right?
I know. It'd be like, hey, it'd be like you giving up the first valve body, the first CRT billet valve body. You wouldn't do that.
No, I'm going to keep that one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's funny, all these years later, almost 10 years later, I never would have suspected that would have been a thing. Like literally, just had no idea.
Who would have ever known?
But I did tell him I wanted him to put the number one on it, because I told him, you know what, I think I had a premonition, because I told him, I was like, look, man, you need to number these things, because these things are going to be badass. And he goes, really? And I was like, yeah. I said, I want you to number it. Please number it. I remember making him number it. And he's in here, so he's hearing me say this.
Other than the Tesla valve, what would say Professor P's not have that say number 5 or 600 does? I'd be curious to know that.
So what is the from John?
So the Tesla valve slows down the fluid flow in first gear, so you can downshift it into first without it wanting to put you, into the windshield. It slows that down, makes a much nicer downshift into first. Mm-hmm. And it uses a Tesla valve, just slows the fluid flow down. And so that was a running change on those things, I guess, somewhere in the 400s. Because my number 500 has it.
Yeah, I think mine is is a neutral first. Like what I mean by it's a free wheel. So like I think it's deacceleration in third and second only. I think. I think. Now I don't know. I mean, you would have to ask. It's been some years since I've driven the car, so but I do know it's definitely a low band apply. I can tell you that.
Andy's got the Slipmatic going on now with the C4.
Right. I think Dallas is going to try to correct that himself too, because I think he's on his last little bend. Oh, I was looking through on Facebook, and there was a guy talking about No Name Nationals, and it literally was a tube chassis car. Did you see that thing?
I have
Who?
not. I'm not on Facebook.
Oh, okay. I don't know. It was just some random guy. He goes, "Man, I heard about the No Name Nationals." And it was a full tube chassis
Oh,
car, and I remember commenting, "Say you got to get 500 subs. Go see this guy."
make it happen.
So, yeah, so make it happen. Oh, here's the
Pistol
guy.
valve and a polished finish.
Oh, okay,
Cool.
okay.
In my mind, it's kind of like a Glock. Generation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all great. So those
Yeah,
little run-in changes are nice, but they're all very worthy.
yeah. Oh, right now, so slipping back. Tell Garage. Okay. How did the old mechanical gasoline fuel pump injections work? Diesel pumps got lube from the diesel, so you can't use them. Okay. Here, there's a lot of questions there. Now I see what you're asking. Okay, mechanical pump that's on, like, say, on a camshaft. It's basically just pumping it up with RPM, and it just uses the fluid that basically just hydraulics the line, so that way it just floats. Okay, a diesel pump gets lubed obviously with diesel. You said that, and that is correct. That's how it lubes. But remember, diesel pumps run at like 30,000 psi. So yes, you couldn't use them in gasoline because it would be overpressurizing the gasoline at that point and kaput. It would go kaput. But diesel, I think it's 30,000 psi. I think my diesel
Wow.
on my truck, it's the CP3 pump is about, with a common rail, I believe it's 30,000 psi. So that's quite a bit, and I think they even boost those too higher for the higher ones, and that just allows more spray and more fuel. But that's a lot of pressure. Yeah. See, did I miss anyone? No. I was gonna do a hardcore tech talk, but I just couldn't get to it today. Just couldn't get to it. We've got a lot of work going on right now at work, so we got some cool things coming out. So,
Dakota wants to know cost for having a cam reground.
I don't do any of the numbers. I can only tell you what it used to cost. When I don't do any of the sales stuff, but at Crower, I do know that a flat tap cam was right about $150, to $100, and then a solid roller was about $250. So it's about half the cost. And what's good about that is that at the time we used to rebuild our lifters. So you send in your lifters and your camshaft, so then it would be like having a brand new cam and lifters. So yeah, it's awesome. It's definitely worth it. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. Dakota, Oregon does regrinds for 190. So that makes sense. Yeah. So it used to be about 150. So, and that was 4 years ago. So yeah, I would assume. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, Power Machine grinds cams. I don't know if they're doing anything with flat tappet anymore though.
Who's that?
Power Machine. They're
Oh,
a fellow YouTuber. They're in South Carolina.
yeah.
So they're not all that far from Dakota.
Yeah. I know Comp Cam does. I know Crower does. I know Oregon Cam does.
Cams are getting expensive. Everything is getting expensive.
Yes, it's getting ridiculous. They can't take the hobby away. What they'll do is they'll just make all the parts so expensive you just can't afford them.
I heard a stat today. I have not verified this, but I heard 27% running inflation right now. So
Wow.
now is a time that resourcefulness is good.
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm buying up a bunch of slant sixes right now.
There were things that we never considered reusing 5 years ago that now it's like,
I used to just chuck my distributors. Not anymore.
yeah, right.
Seriously, not anymore.
Right.
You just, even if it's a points distributor, I don't care. I'll keep that damn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how that works out. Even alternators, even a single field alternator, I keep it. What do you want for the core? $5? I'll keep that. I'll keep it.
I'm telling you. I'm trying to get enough to where I have enough parts and so forth and so on that I can ride it out, right? Like I
Yes.
figure that most of my life is in the rearview mirror. I'm not going to set any longevity records. So if I can eke out a few more decades, I can opt out of all of this new stuff.
Pretty much. I have enough cars right now, so I don't have to buy any more.
Right.
Personally, I
Yeah,
have
I
everything.
totally agree.
I have everything I want. I have pretty much a stockpile of the engines that I'm going to build right now. I have a 6.4 Hemi for the Cookie Monster eventually. I got a 6.1 Hemi for the 68. I got plenty of slant sixes for Plan Z and the wife's slant six and my other slant six. And I'm set up. All I need to do is just work on them and finish them. And I don't want to rush to them. I want to enjoy them because these are coming up to some of my last builds that I'm going to have, unless my son and kids do it. But as far as for me, this is it. I'm just going to enjoy them.
I really like Danny Boyd blew Dakota's mind with this $75 camshaft. I remember the $69.95 cam specials. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That was a thing. Well, for Chevrolet, I mean, you weren't going to get that for Ford or Chrysler.
Shane, I would like to get one of Dallas. Shane Dallas's BBB cams made. Oh, is a Big Bad Buick or whatever that was. What size core do I need to get to make that? I'll have Dallas email you because I gave him all the numbers and I don't have those in my head anymore. But it was I forget. I don't have it off the top of my head, but ask Dallas. And I know the exact masters and everything. So, but yeah, that came out to be an awesome camshaft.
He's talking about the one he put in that Jack the Giant Killer.
I think it was for the Buick, the 455 Buick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. The camshaft that everybody loves, I believe it was like a 216 or 218 or something like that. But the lobes are so soft, and I was like, there's so much more here. So I made the camshaft for what's the name of that Buick place out there in Phoenix? TA Performance.
I couldn't come up with that.
Yeah, I designed all the cams for TA Performance, every single one of them. And so I told him that there was so much more, but he wanted it to be quiet. That everybody wanted to have a quiet camshaft. They didn't want to hear any noise. So that was his. So we had to do that with low spring pressure, so on and so forth. So I've redesigned the cam the way it should have been done. Now it's definitely not quiet, but it makes power.
Danny Boyd, he bought a Holly 4160 and 95. Yeah. That's I paid. I want to say I paid $199 for my 4150 brand new in 94 or 5, something like that.
Yeah.
First new carburetor ever bought.
Yeah. Right. Was going to and then dump the full. Oh, he said easy. Yeah. On Amazon, see any small block Chevrolets. Remember? Okay, here we go. I think small block Chevrolet, you can get headers, cam, and intake for less than $100. Blackjack headers. Remember those?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Blackjack.
I paid the blackjack header fitment tax. Yes, I have.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, the first set of headers I had was a blackjack, $59 advance auto, right?
Yep.
And they fit like $59 headers.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't have a machine of straight edge you put across the flange, but I bet it would have rocked like a rocking chair, right? And the welds were horrible, the whole thing, right? So I actually would have been, I don't know, I think I was 16. I made a 7-piece set of headers out of them so that they would bolt on in the chassis. And I thought that's pretty slick, right? And I epoxied, I put these sleeves in and welded them, and it was a fun exercise. And I got to tell you, they actually fit better than hooker headers. By the time I modified everything, it took forever. I spent a month on these things. They fit better than hooker, but the problem was I flattened them. Well, they leaked terribly. I mean, you know that. But in addition to leaking, I flattened them coming off a mountain road in a huge pothole, flattened a 3 on the driver's side to go into the drag link.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm like, well, I can't go back through that whole experiment. So I put a set of hooker comp headers on after that, and that was that.
Yeah. That's funny you say that, because when I did my my green card, the Lizard King, and I had the dual Dolce duals on it, I bought a header kit from a Summit header kit for a big block Chevrolet. So you could buy a tube and this and that or whatever. If you buy the pipes, it's super expensive. It's like $300 or $400. But if you buy a header kit, it's like $150 and you get the same exact tubes, but
Huh.
you get them all in a big kit. So just know that if you ever need a bunch of tubes with a bunch of turns and whatever, buy a Summit header kit. They're $150 something dollars, but then you get everything that you need right there. So just that's what I've used to make all like actually 2 exhaust systems with that come off of the the Slant 6. So it's
half a bottle of my buddy's welding gas, Dakota.
Main bearings for the 450 engine cost more than the entire engine, right? At this point, yeah, right.
You know, the markup on bearings is crazy.
Yeah, you can't even find them right now.
I used to fill in for a friend of mine that worked at a speed shop here in town, and I used to see the margins on things like Clevite bearings. It's unreal.
Yeah. I paid $100 for the last hole and Gizmo Bar Joe, right?
Joe's good like that.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. If I'm not using it, it's just sitting there collecting dust. Someone needs it. I mean, I gave Dallas a whole 204R, converter and everything. I really want to buy Amazon's 3/4 converter. Do they really have a 3/4 race converter? For real?
Brian, if you've seen such a thing, send it to me and we'll put it up on the screen.
That's almost worth just buying, just to have it advertising in the box on your shelf.
Think about it. If you had a Chevrolet transmission, Professor P, you could put 3/4 on it. People would see it under the car.
Yeah, right. Right. Our brother still has a set of blackjack headers on a 71 GMC 350 back. In 89, he must have got the only good set ever.
They were okay.
Yeah, with today's, the Remflex gaskets. Remember the Remflex that they have now?
Yeah.
The blackjacks will work just fine on that.
Sure.
And then you get the locking type bolts. So it'd be fine.
So take a really flat surface. I have a big slab of granite. Tape your paper on there and work that thing and get it good and flat, right? Remflex gaskets. The flanges on them are thin. There's only got 1/4-inch flanges, and the standard now is much thicker. Yeah. And the coating on them is terrible. It will come off. You will need to recoat them with something. But if you can get around those things, the fitment wasn't that bad at all.
Yeah. I think they use the most toxic paint ever, because I've painted engines and stuff. But blackjack, man, that paint burns off. Sends you in another dimension.
That paint, what their engineers must have said, here's your challenge. We need you to get something that will keep these from looking like tree bark in shipping. That's all it has to do.
Yeah, right. I bought a 200 set of big block Mopar BE body headers and grafted them to a new set of Gen 3 Hemi flanges. That's how I beat the tax for my Gen 3. That's good. That's good.
Wow.
Yeah. You know what's funny?
3, that's symmetrical port, right, Joe? You really had to move some tubes to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember him talking about this. This is on his white. Doesn't he have a white Challenger or something like that? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I was stalking his channel for a while and just kind of going through and watching stuff, and I was like, oh wow, he was telling me that he had a Gen 3 Hemi, so I went and I watched that video, and yeah, that was actually the whole infamous Mopar tax.
That's right.
I remember cherry bomb mufflers costing, dude, I remember those things, and you could get them like the purple hornies. Remember those?
They're cheap.
Yeah, they'd be sitting in the tube right at the Craig and Auto Parts, parts. It'd be like the purple hornies, the cherry bombs. Oh man. Oh, right here, 3/4 race cam is top notch. Couldn't afford the one that I get that had the flames on the box. It's really good. Let's see here if this will work. I don't know if I've ever have I ever put up my cam card for my race car for the Cookie Monster? Have I ever done that before?
No.
This is it. Hopefully it comes up. Oh, I do remember. Okay, perfect. So here, this is I'm copying and pasting this, and this is I used to do all the so there you go. That's the cam that's in my car right now. Now it's definitely not a nitrous cam, but it's a good NA cam. But if you want to look at it, and you want to get a good laugh, click on that, and it's a look at the grind on it. But the cam on it is 274, 283 duration at 50 on a 108 lobe separation angle. As far as the lobe lift on it's 445 intake, 445 exhaust, 1.6 rocker arm that comes out to about 712. After I time you factor in lash and the 11 degrees of cant on it, it comes out to about 670 ish as far as that valve. So it's pretty decent cam, and it's really fast masters. These masters, I was working with at that time. I was working with Joe Sherman. And we came up with he was always wanted to be an engineer for making cams, so I worked with him on making a whole line of profiles, and then I made a camshaft for his son Steve Sherman for his tunnel ram, where he had that Chevy Nova 2, the orange one, and so I designed the cams just for the profiles just for that, and then I made some little smaller ones for my car. So yep, so if you can click on that, take a look at it. That's a But read the grind number. It's pretty cool.
712. Joe's eyes.
What's that?
Look at Joe's comment. 712.
That's being conservative, man. I had to make masters that were, because most people run like a 1.7 rocker arm ratio, so I had to be the lobe lift of only 445. So I had to. That was the trick.
There was a series, and I'm sure it's still up. I guess it's on Total Seal's YouTube page, but they were showing different things like servicing the clutch, rebuilding the transmission on a Pro Stocker, a modern Pro Stocker. And Pro Stock, those guys are really secret. Like every one of them thinks that they're doing the most clandestine, secretive operation in history. Like Warren Johnson's probably the worst.
Mm-hmm.
But the Total Seal team, they were actually showing the valve cover off and lashing valves, changing springs on a Pro Stock, which is unheard of. Like, you don't see video of that for whatever reason. They were showing that engine turning over, and I thought that valve was never going to stop moving. They've got to be 1.1, 1.2 inch lift easily.
Yeah, some of those are inch and a half.
Unreal.
Yeah, some of them are inch and a half. They run like a 2.2, 2.4 rocker arm ratio.
Inch and a half at the valve?
Yeah, some of them are more than that too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Joe Smolbert, I think you had a question about the cam when you mentioned spring nitrous. Yeah. My biggest complaint about this camshaft for spring nitrous really is going to be the speed of the rocker arm of the ramp on the exhaust. Typically on an exhaust duration, if the lobe separation angle being 8 is not the greatest for nitrous, but it's this thing's going to be up there at 7,000 whatever. It's not really going to make that much of a difference, really. It really is not. But the opening rate of the valve is where I would like a smaller just for parts longevity. Excuse me. I would like to have just a little slower of a master, and then I would just increase the duration slightly to take up for the area under the curve. That's all I would like to do.
Dakota's comment there. He said that's the exact same cam that's in my uncle's Nova. It's the fastest car around. Can't grab $100 off the dash. I bet it's the same Nova that does wheelies over pop cans in parking lots too, right?
Right. That's right.
That's the same car every town.
It'll hop a Coke can.
That's it.
Yeah. But for those people who can't click on that, it says right on a 3/4 race cam is really what that cam. That's what it cam. That's the grind number is 3/4 race cam.
Yeah. Now Joe is saying I think my 512 is only 650 with a 1.6. But you got to remember, Joe, that's also a big block head. That's a lot bigger head. It's all relative to what the head flows.
Dave, exhaust 283 at 50, that'll make flames. Not only that, but yeah, it's 283, but the 108 lobe separation angle installed on a 106 ICL, it's going to light the candles. It will definitely light the candles. So yes.
Why does it have to be a parking lot? I don't know, Dakota, because whoever back in the 1950s that started telling that one made it in a parking lot.
Right.
I guess that way it never got seen by anybody. I don't
Where was Joe's question? Oh, right here. I think my 12
know.
has 6. Yeah, 650. You see, I only lifted it to 700 because the 360-1 head really after 700 really kind of gets turbulent. The air gets turbulent there. So I was just lifting it to wherever the max velocity, and that's it. So I was just trying to get as much as I could out of that head as far as NA. And things changed when I made that cam. I designed that cam back in 2018, and I was going to run a lot more Match Race Madness. I was wanting to run a 590. Me and Dallas were both trying to get to that 60 590 once we got down the hill type of number, and I was hoping to get to that, and that's where I was trying to get with this car. Yeah, me and Dallas's cars were literally this close. He had a better gear than I did, because he had a better head than I do. So he was able to make more torque. So I think he had a 370 gear in it, and I had 430 gear. So I would basically get out, and then he would come around. But we were like this. I mean, it was just that close. You're looking at each other. You don't even know who wins. So
38 says Dakota might try a Bud Light cam of shoulder. Is Dakota even old enough to drink?
yeah, my uncle knows that he's doing. I'm watching.
Dakota knows every one of these crazy old stories, right? My uncle knows what he's doing. He picked the cam at the bottom of the kettle. That's right.
Right.
You know what you're doing. And you're the real pro. You pick the cam at the bottom of the list, right?
Yeah, I used to do that quite a bit before I knew, and then I realized, yeah, you're giving up so much more at that point. The first time you buy the big cam, the car's idling, and you think it's going to rotate the earth, and then you go out there and it doesn't even get out its own way, and you're like, man, this sucks. This does suck.
Dakota says, I will be in a year and a month. Gosh, Dakota, you're not even 20 yet? Great day.
Shane probably has my little E Street heads only flow 290 at 650. Yeah, my heads flow, I think they're 340 CFM at 700. Yeah.
Mohawk says the Nova, is it from Niagara Falls? Yes.
Right. Yeah, the E Street heads, yeah. So people are still around them.
Joe makes me laugh more than any other YouTuber. You just don't know. That's funny. Oh, goodness. VTEC. Yeah, the CRV is the VTEC, and I'm such an old man, I never get into that variable valve time in solenoid ever. I do it so rarely, it almost thinks, oh, was the transmission slipping? Oh, no. The VTEC kicked in.
Oh, you have a Honda?
Yeah, the Assault CRV. About 350,000 miles. I towed the Roadrunner home with it on a dolly.
So that is that's a K series, K24?
I don't know. It's 2.4 liter, and it's only had the valve cover off, change a gasket ever.
Dude, that's great. That's a K series. That is actually the one to get, because that's the high torque one. It's a 2.4. If you ever sell that car, remember when I talk about putting a Honda engine in my car? That's the engine I want to put into it. It's
a great engine.
Oh yeah, I've built many of them, hundreds of those things.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's 350,000 miles and still has the original alternator and water pump.
I'm still wondering if that. No, it's not. Remember we just did one here, so let's so that way we can kind of compare apples to apples.
Great to me.
Yeah. So we talked about this cam 23-232-4. Okay, so in a 440, it's 244 252 on a 110 lobe separation angle. Okay, that's going to be 25 to 65. So knowing those numbers, you're going to be about 10 degrees less. So that's going to, and it's about the same size engine. So literally when you're 10 degrees less, it's going to bring it down about 500 RPM or maybe even 750 at that point. So you're going to be right at, that 1750, 2000 to like say, 5,750 or, 6,000 mark. It's going to be like perfect. You're going to love it. I promise you, you're going to just put it in there. And that 108 is going to hit so damn hard. It's going to be great.
Yeah. I think it looks just right to me.
Yeah. The 11-1 is the only thing, but whatever, put a little advance on the cam, put on a 104 ICL, bleed some of that shit off there, call it good. It'll make everything happen sooner.
And run it on 93.
Yes, definitely. And what I would do, if the engine's already broken, I always do this, do a compression test before, and then do a compression test after break-in. And that way you can kind of just keep track. So you know where it started, where it got up to after it broke in. And then this way, every time you do an oil change, you can just do a compression test on it. You can get a parabolic. And then when you start to see it starting to fall off before you have any problems, then hey, I need to re-ring this thing or I need to do something. So it's always good just to do a compression test. At least just pick a couple cylinders and just do those cylinders, and it'll tell you what's going on.
Dave says that those CRVs in Australia has no engine in it. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's right.
It's a great engine. I really like it.
Yeah, it's like perfect because instead of the exhaust coming out in the front, the exhaust comes out in the back, so you're not really having the exhaust come out like on the B series, and they turn the correct direction. The K series actually goes clockwise like it's supposed to, where everything else B series goes counterclockwise.
Tuvac says it was a 57 Chevy in a parking lot. It was a 57 Chevy that could make it to a parking lot.
This has actually been done. I would love to put a K in my daily drivable Model A. There's actually a guy in Southern California who's got one. He's got a K series in his daily driven, like 32, Roadster. But it's got a top on it. It's got all the amenities on it, but he's got a K series in it, and that is his daily driver. So yeah. He goes, I have a K24 going to my 3rd gen in the Camaro. Look, man, I'll tell you right now, if I had one, I'd put one in a daily driver for sure. I'd put it in a Dart and just let it go, because it'd make just as much horsepower, if not more, than the Slant 6. It'd be hard to beat the torque, but yeah. Okay, what's Dakota says? I also got a Summit Cam 224, 234, and a 114. Now that cam is definitely going to be down on power. It's going to have a lot longer legs, but because of the smaller camshaft, it's going to come off a little sooner. And then you have a 227 on a 233 now on a 110. Now that's going to be a little better as far as sound and everything. Which one is in the car currently? That's the one you should run.
I like that.
Whatever one's in the car currently, run that one. That way you have a metric. Don't change too many things at once, and just see what the car likes. Some of those heads aren't known for great flowing, so they're gonna act a little differently, like say than a big block Chevrolet or big block Mopar or so on and so forth, because they're going to absorb some of the camshaft because there's not as much airflow. That's why Slant 6 can take so much camshaft after, like, say, 230 degrees, because there's just no air moving into it. So you really go crazy on the camshaft just to get the RPMs up. And that's actually what happened with me with my car. That's why I went with such a much bigger cam, 274, 283, a duration at 50 on a 108, is because for the RPM and what I was doing, I needed more airflow, but I only have X amount, so therefore I camshafted. He goes, there's a channel here that has a K series in a Silverado. That's big. Wow.
Well, at least it was easy to fit.
Yeah, right. It would look lost in there.
Man, you could run circles around the engine on foot in that thing with the hood closed.
Yeah. I'm going to be using aluminum heads. Perfect. Even better.
Yeah, that's going to help you a lot. That's
Yeah.
going to get you off detonation a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Shane. Hello, John. Hello, Windy English. How you doing? Says Google the world's fastest Model A starts in black and white, and then you hear a rally engine and it scoots titanium wheels that look like wooden wheels. Great video. That
I
would
went
be
to high
kind of
school
cool.
with a guy that drove a Model A. He is a 29 Model A truck, yellow with black fenders. Had a flathead V8 in it and a Ford 9-inch. Cool truck. And from what I hear, he sold it after that, and the guy who got it ruined it. He just 350 Chevy'd it and put all the chrome doodads and crap all over it. Lost all of that old school cool. Of course, that was in the 90s, and that's when ruining stuff like that was a thing.
When people said okay to the Lund catalog for their Chevrolet.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, all of it.
Yeah. Can I see the Lund catalog? Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, right.
No problem. You would see that quite a bit where I was at. I'm not sure about here. I can only imagine here too.
Oh, I'm so glad that that's not a thing anymore.
The white Chevrolets with those 3 spoked rims that had the like scallops on them, remember that?
Ooh,
And
yeah.
they would stick out, and then the whole Lund catalog, and they were always white, and they always had the teal inserts in them. Oh, it was like disease.
Yeah, any part that says attaches with self-adhesive, just stop right there.
Move away. Remember when the stickers were like a thing? Remember that you go into like Craig and they would have all these wild stickers that you could put, and people
like the graphics.
Oh man, and that was something else, man. Yeah, they were.
Now, Big Block 402 Stevens says he might have a Lund rear visor deal on his '89 S10. Oh yeah, there's still some remnants of that out there.
Yeah, I think the craziest Lund thing I ever saw was so you have your standard cab Chevrolet, you took out the rear window, and then there was a little piece that went on top in the back on the bed, right? So you had a little shelf in the back.
Yes.
Remember that?
A friend of mine had one of them. He called it a sleeper. He was 6'3", 300 pounds. I said, "You're not sleeping in that thing.
No.
Don't even.
What are you going to do with that?" Because he's like, "Yeah, it's a sleeper." And I'm just like, dude, it's the size of a rear window. Like, dude, you're a big dude. You're not even getting through there. You know what
all you're doing when you do that is you're putting a shelf in there to guarantee yourself you're never going to see out your back window again.
Yes.
That's all you're doing.
Here's one. Okay. Here's one at No Name Nationals 23. I asked Shane, my engine has 12.7 compression. Do you think it'll take a 200? Says, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's where I started spraying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It will. Dude, I got to tell you, man, pretty much any engine will take a V8 will take a 200 shot. I've said this 100 times. I used to put a 200 shot to a 360 Chrysler all the time. When you started putting that 250 shot, that's when things started breaking. That's when I had to start doing things. But literally, a 200 shot, I've put that on full-blown race engines where they think there was no more. We put a 200 shot on it. Go, you know.
That all assumes that you are taking out enough timing and so forth.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And getting enough fuel.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would be about 8 degrees, usually.
Should be.
Yeah,
supposed
about
to be
8
2
degrees.
baseline, then 2 per 50.
Yeah.
So in theory, it would be about 10 degrees less than NA.
Yeah.
But that's just a rough.
Yeah, exactly. 200 shot with regular ring gap and such. Okay, now that's where it gets tricky because it depends on what engine. But
what's regular ring gap?
Yes, and what's regular ring gap? Exactly. So 79 Cordobas that came out of the military base that had brass freeze plugs, with whatever pistons they put in those, they would take 200 shot on regular ring gap. The second you went beyond that, and with super safe fueling, let me tell you that we didn't go beyond the fueling that they came with. We never went lower because they come too rich right off the bat. We all know that's for safety, and you can usually come down a couple jet sizes to bring them in. And then also too, you can take less timing away too as you start to figure it out. They give you all these super safe numbers, but a 250 shot, you're opening the gap, 100% guaranteed. You will eventually. You're going to break a piston, and parts are going to come out.
I like Andy's comment. Those Lund cars and catalog hot rods further drove me toward the traditional.
Yes.
I think if there's any one person who probably made me want less and less to do with that early '90s look would probably be Boyd Coddington.
I was going to say the name Boyd Coddington.
That dude right there. He seemed to find a way to sharpen the spear of the obnoxious.
And the cost.
Remember, for him, that was his thing, right? But
yeah,
I mean, it's not really my style.
Right. Here's a good one. Do you want stock ring gap customer? No, just regular. For real. Here it says, I ran No Name Nationals 32 degrees. Maybe I can try more for Levy this year.
That's a big bore in that engine, though, isn't it, Joe? What is that? Is that like 4.4?
He's got the 400, right? He's a 400 based.
It's
block?
Bigger than that.
No, it was a 400 base block, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's probably 4.4.
Yeah. Well, that's 60 over.
Yeah. Well, that's about the end of it, though.
Yeah, Big Block 402 said he ran 32 degrees and it didn't blow up. Yeah, well, it blew up the first year, but it survived the second at 32. Hey, Stephen, it did this the first year. Professor P, this is out of Stephen's engine.
Oh, that's the one?
This is the one.
Wow.
He sent me two. There's this one, and then there's the one on the trophy for the worst oil now.
Wow. Okay.
So,
speaking of which, I got enough parts to where I'm just going to say it now. I'm going to make 2 trophies for the No Name Nationals. Actually, I've already started making them. I'm going to have one for the most catastrophic failure, which I hope I don't give out. And then, because that usually means I'm cleaning up, I'm helping clean, and we want to get back to racing. And maybe, well, the other one, yeah, I'll say it. I'm going to do one for like the best engineered. I'm going to do a really good one. So for that, yeah, I'm going to do 2 of them, and they're going to come right from here, and they're going to be welded up with cool stuff. So
cool.
Yeah. Shane just put up a short on the fish carburetor I have. Awesome.
Cool.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go check that out after this. Man, we're only 8 minutes away.
Colleen, if you're in here, put up a link to that.
Yeah. And just a heads up, guys, if you guys weren't in here at the beginning, we're going to be doing Dallas is back from vacation and he's ready to start doing this again. Just want to give you a heads up that we're going to be going back to the AHRA channel next Wednesday night. And Mr. Dallas is going to be on his channel, and
right on.
So it's a good thing, and I want to say thank you for everyone coming over here once again. Thanks to Mr. John Wilburn, bringer of the No Name Nationals, for coming here and filling in. It's been awesome. So yeah, we'll be over there. I told him to put up a post as soon as he could, and then obviously we're going to be announcing it, and I'll be on that next week, and then I'm going to kind of go in and out from there. Just that I want to spend a little bit more time doing some things with the kids and stuff, because after school they're getting to that age of Cub Scouts and fun stuff. So I want to have a little bit more time for that. So
Maxwedge Dick Dastardly, I totally agree. High five. He's not a fan of wheels bigger than 15-inch. Me neither.
Yes. Unfortunately, on my 68 Dart, I have to run at least a 17 or 18.
To clear the brakes.
Clear the rotors. Yep, exactly. But on everything else, I agree with you. 15 inches all the way. Nursing Garage has exactly a 500 horse K20s with exactly. It's easy to make 500 horse out of a K series. You can make 350 out of one naturally aspirated, 300 streetable, naturally aspirated in power out of a K24. I know. I've built so many of them. I even have a recipe for that too.
Hey, Aunt D's asking what the channel is. You're talking about the AHRA channel. Colleen, can you post a link to the AHRA channel on here?
Yes.
So that any of you who are not familiar with it and have come aboard since that time, you need to subscribe to it so you can set a notification reminder when it is live.
Yeah. If you look behind John there, that says AHRA right there for the
Yes.
No Name Nationals. Basically, it's that. There's a thing in the background right there.
I'll have my first look.
Yeah, this was a channel that, yeah, right there, exactly. HRA. So, Colleen, if you could put that up, that'd be awesome. Thank you, I appreciate it. And take it easy, Joe. It was good seeing you. So, but yeah, it's been awesome having you guys come here. But it's I'm definitely going to keep coming on the channel. But it's been 2 years, pretty much of every single week, and it is it's a task. To say the least, and I don't mind doing it, but I definitely would like to have a little bit more time with the kids. So they are only young ones. So that's
Well,
the main thing.
That said, I do still intend to have every Friday, as always, and I'd like to occasionally have Professor P as a guest on there on
Absolutely.
some Friday that might work out. So you just never know. You've not seen the last of either one of us together. So
No. Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say that too, is that, I'm going to be going on to both channels here and there and kind of go from there. I'm a single chub. I'm an extra large, and an extra large is a little baggy on me. So, but an extra large.
2X is, about room to spare on me, but I take 2.
Yeah. And what do you have going on this Friday? Who's coming?
I don't know yet. We'll just have to see. We'll do something fun. We always do.
I can tell you a couple things that I do have in the works for the HRA for our live tech talk. Is do you guys remember Riley's Rebuilds? Do you guys remember that or her? Okay, so we had her on probably about a year and a half ago when me and Dallas first started doing it together. And she's blown up since then. I can't really comment on everything that she's doing because I know a lot of the trades things that she's doing. But they're going to be coming back onto our show here. And when they get done with a few things. And so we can kind of give a year and a half recap. I think it's going to be her and her dad just kind of coming back on and hanging out and just, yeah, I think we need more females in the sport industry. Brings more attention to what we do. So I think it's awesome.
Dakota says, no way choose a bunch of car freaks on the internet over your kids. Well, I agree with that. I will say one thing, though. These are, we met all of you guys in person. So,
oh, yeah.
Slightly better than your regular internet gathering, and that this is a bona fide community.
100%. Yeah, no, I agree. That's, yeah, no, I really do. And in fact, that's, I've always thought and said, he's kind of like a little family to, like that's why we do this, is to help people out. But yeah, but it is time for me to take just a little bit of a break. And I want, my boy, did we ever figure out about Monkey Bike? What is the age limit of Monkey Bike?
That is a great question now that Dallas is back from vacation. We will address that.
Write that down because we need to find that out. That age
one is one that's above our instantaneous pay grade because that involves tracks and insurance and so forth and so on.
Yeah, exactly. And then once again, if and I always update on my Slant Daily Garage Yahoo. So if there's a question, slantdailygarage.yahoo.com, you can send the questions over there. As we've been sitting here, I've already been answering some of them. So thank you. Most of you guys didn't want to have them talked about, which is no big deal. I just answer them. I have the links usually up. I have a couple things ready to go here, so I can pretty much do it while we're talking. I can multitask. So, but yeah, so if you got any other questions, hit it up. I will stay active on that and keep going. And everyone who's contributed to the channel, thank you. All that money is going to go right back into the No Name Nationals. So we're going to try to figure out how to do something. I was already talking to Dallas about some things, and I've been talking to John about some things too, obviously. And so we're definitely going to be feeding that money right back into it. So that way it goes right back to you guys somehow, some shape, some form. We don't know.
More fun to come.
Yeah. So, but anyways, this will be the last time you guys see me on Slant Daily Garage for this. But I want to say thank you for coming around. And remember, next week, AHRA. And I believe Colleen put the link up there.
Yes. If you're not subscribed to the AHRA channel, please do so, because it should show you at least on your desktop, and it'll show you in your suggestions on your phone when it's live or going to be. You can set a reminder.
Yep. And there it is right there. And then we'll see you guys next week. So thanks again for tuning in. All right. You guys have a great week.